think that my life is a massive contradiction. When I was younger, I suppose, well, simply, I didn't fit in. And I think probably one of the great problems is that I looked like I fit in. I was an immigrant, but blonde hair, blue eyes, so I looked, like I was from here. I had a fairly good understanding of most things, and despite holding a lifelong grudge against my auntie, when she said that I could go to kindergarten, she said that to my mum. And Mum took me there straight away, very keen to get her independence. I really felt when I walked into that room, kindergarten, that I was more in a farmyard than anything that resembled a room full of civilised people. I really found it absolutely awful. Despite this, I sort of learned how to fit in. I really like girls from a very young age, and I say that I myself being of a young age. And I was mesmerised by the different faces and certainly charmed by many of them. I found academic challenges so ridiculously easy that I had to move schools where the curriculum was a little more challenging, but certainly, if not the top of my class, I was usually up amongst the top. All of this changed around 13, when fights became quite concerning that they could result in physical and emotional damage. All of this is not original. Some of it's been replaced by things that got broken off in fights and things. Despite getting into many fights, I certainly remember watching a fight where the aggression was at a level that was quite confronting. I noted 2 teachers joined the group of people surrounding the fight. It really was the beginning of the end to me when I saw that the teachers watched for a while and only intervened after chatting amongst themselves and moved to stop the fight after the damage was done. I realised, page 2, yep. I realised there was no difference between the randomness that could result between the teachers and the randomness that could happen between the students. The teachers were not guardians, but rather they were as complicit in the whole situation of chaos and violence. It was at this time that my attendance at school, my grades, and my obvious betrayal to the system showed that I had not a single ounce of respect and no sense of feeling safe. Rather than seeking safety, I sought out rebels, outsiders, and rough groups where I actually felt more secure. I was only 14 when I removed myself from most formality. As these talks tonight are short, I'll round off what happened next after my removing myself from formality into a relatively abbreviated form. I'm 64 now, I was 14 there, so the last 50 years I've done about next 3 minutes. As these talks tonight are short, no, I said that. From 14 I found myself in a situation where there was no place for me. I didn't fit in the structure of school or work, and despite enjoying the rebellious friends, it didn't save me from the next decade of mental decline. So bad was the mental decline that I started to collect bad habits which helped grow phobias, mental dysfunction at a vast rate, until only alcohol and drugs could protect me from the craziness. By 23, I felt the temporary relief of substances had reached a terrible dead end, and as the band The Verve said, the drugs don't work. I was in an impossible situation and had numerous attempts at taking my own life and forced stays in mental hospitals, all made me even more of a cast-out human. Little did I know, despite many years of unimaginable pain and suffering, that my clumsy, continual, determined attempts at getting better, despite failing getting better for years, I was actually building a bridge to the greatest life imaginable. I ended up having the greatest freedom. I was outcast, I was broke, not being able to work, let alone get to work. So I had agoraphobia so bad, stopping me from going outside. The bottom was the most beautiful place to launch into a creative life where anything from criticism to challenges was nothing in comparison to the depths I had plunged into. The perfect place to start my life. I moved to Noosa to live a clean life and surf. One might say, how did you surf when you had agoraphobia? Well, I was the guy that didn't sit on my board. I was either surfing or going out to the wave, and whilst the waves weren't coming, I was going around in circles because if I stopped, I thought I was going to get sucked off the edge of the earth. But that meant I did a lot of paddling and I got very fit. One day at the Yamundi markets in Queensland, I stood in front of a woman with her ceramic pots and I asked her how I could do that. This soon turned into a working at the local art supply shop, through to taking classes in pottery, through to dedicating myself to pottery and surfing. From that point on, I built a creative life for what is now 40 years because I learned that to constantly apply all of my energies to art and surfing, and ultimately after a few tries, a beautiful family also, which I could dedicate to myself to now not have one single hurdle in my way. All I had gone through built the strongest bridge for me to walk across every day to a place where my imagination could flourish with no fear of failure because I had already failed. So fantastically had I failed that I hadn't realised I had built a completely fearless approach to life and creativity over and over again. When I say over and over again, I failed so many times that, you know, it wasn't failing once or twice. You know, my bridge that I built it over and over and over and over and over because I failed over and over and over and over. Failure, no standing in society, no skills, and probably you could say I was a non-existent person. This was the best springboard because I had nothing to lose. The beauty in failure and being at your lowest ebb, rather than being a terrible position to be in, I saw it as if I still work as if I have nothing to lose, and whilst I don't necessarily think I am fearless, I don't second guess myself, and as I always know, if I fail, my muscle memory takes me to a place that I know so well, and I start again. As my aim is to distract my constantly whirring brain, which if left to its own devices, heads me to a version of living hell, then starting again takes me back to my attempted approach to life, to be busy. I work every day because if I don't, I still have crazy waiting for me. So if I were to package these words into something that contributes to people's lives, it would be, go crazy. If you are one of the very lucky ones, because there are people who go crazy who are not fortunate like me and they lose themselves in it, and to those people I have the greatest empathy. So I consider myself a lucky one. I consider myself to be, there is a chance that what seems to be the most terrible series of events are in fact the very foundation for the most wonderful life.